In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a blockchain website step by step so that you can harness the power of the blockchain in any website that you want to create. And you don't have to be an experienced blockchain developer in order to follow along with this tutorial. I'm going to show you everything from scratch. All right. So before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory from Dapp University. And on this channel, I teach you to become a blockchain master. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, then click the like button down below and click subscribe. And if you want to take that next step to mastering blockchain, then you should join the free training over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so let's get into this. So today I'm going to show you how to build a blockchain-based website. Here's actually the finished project that we're going to build. This is a blockchain explorer, all right, a lot like Etherscan. So this is Etherscan, if you've ever used this before. It's a block explorer that allows you to see, like the latest transactions. You can search for, accounts, look at cryptocurrency transactions, find out any information you want to about the blockchain. So basically, we're going to build Etherscan Lite today to see how you can connect to the blockchain in your own websites. And the really important thing about today's tutorial is that we're not going to use MetaMask, okay? So MetaMask is an Ethereum wallet that allows you to connect to, the blockchain inside a Dapp or some other, blockchain-enabled website, but we're not going to use MetaMask. And that's the beauty of today's tutorial, all right? Is to show you how, users can come to a website and you can actually, pull information from the blockchain and not require them to install this extension, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Before we begin, we need to make sure that we have a few dependencies. The first is Node.js. So this is going to allow us to install packages on our computer and also run the website that we're going to build in this tutorial. So you can see if you have Node already installed by going to your terminal and typing node-v. If you don't have Node already installed, you can install it from the Node.js website directly, just like this. All right. So the next thing that we need is a connection to the blockchain. We need to access an Ethereum node in order to talk to the blockchain. So we're going to use Infura for that, all right? So Infura is an Ethereum node as a service, which basically means that they'll provide you a URL to an Ethereum node so that you don't have to run one yourself, which is really nice. So just click Get Started for free, create an account, and find the URL for your Ethereum node with your API key. I'll talk more about that later in the tutorial, but just go ahead and sign up and keep that handy for now. All right, so those are the only two dependencies that we need, a way to develop our application with Node, and then also a way to connect to the blockchain with Infura. So let's go ahead and get started. Instead of writing all of the code in this tutorial from scratch, I'm going to get started with a template that I've created. This is the Dapp University Starter Kit. So you can create your project by just copying this URL, all right, from your browser and going to your terminal and typing git clone and then pasting in the URL. All right, and then the project name. So in this case, I'm going to call this blockchain website. All right, and then I'm going to enter into that newly created directory like this, cd blockchain website. All right, and now I'm going to install all the dependencies for the project like this. Let's say npm install. All right, so it's finished. So you might see some warnings here, like this is pretty verbose output. Don't worry, as long as you see the success message at the end, it was added successfully, okay? So I'm gonna clear that out, and I'm gonna go ahead and open this project in my text editor. Okay, so I'm using Sublime Text, and I can do that just like this. Let's say subl dot. And if you're using some other text editor, don't worry. You can just open this project manually, however you can, all right? So now I can take a quick tour of what we created. You can see this is a Truffle project. So Truffle is a smart contract development framework, but it also allows you to do things like create, client-side applications inside of here and manage it all in one place. But we're not really going to use all the features of Truffle in this tutorial. In fact, we're not going to create any smart contracts. We're not really going to, run a blockchain on our computer or anything like that. Okay, I'm just going to use this starter kit because it has everything we need already. Specifically, it has a React application inside of it. Okay. So instead of having to set up a new React application, we can just use the one that's provided for us here. Okay. So now if you wanted to do this on your own, sure, you could create your own React app, but I've already provided this for you. So we'll just use this for now. Okay. So you can see what's been provided inside this source directory. This is source components. All right, you can see this app.js file. So this is the main file that we're going to modify today to create our application. Okay, so this is a React app. All right, and if you're not familiar with React, basically it's a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. So React allows us to create components that look like this. All right. And these components are where we'll store all the HTML code and also all the JavaScript code for our app. Okay, and we can mix it together. There's, you can see JavaScript is here, and then there's HTML here, all mixed into the same file. Okay, and components are all the UI elements that we see on the page, but all the data for the application is going to be handled with the React state object. Okay. And we can see that here. So this is where we'll add a bunch of data to our app, and you'll see how we modify React state in this tutorial. Okay, so those are the two main things to think about. So now let's just boot up the application, make sure everything worked properly, and let's see what we have inside the web browser. So I'm going to say npm run start. This will allow us to start our web server. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open a new tab so that we can execute all the project code in one place, and then have the server running in a different tab. Okay, so here I'm going to pull this up. This is what was opened for us automatically by the web server process. So you can see the starter kit here. Here's the code that's already in the project. You can see we have a lot of nice looking UI elements already. We have this nav bar up here that says Dapp University. And we have some content on the page with the logo and the text and all that kind of stuff. So we can modify this to add the code for the project that we'll create today. So in order to make this blockchain-powered website, we want to connect to the blockchain, all right? And we're going to do that with the Web3 library, all right? So we can just import Web3 like this. Boom. Import Web3 from Web3. And the reason we can do that with just one line of code is because we already installed it when we installed our dependencies with npm. So if you look in the package.json file, you can see that Web3 is included here, all right? So if you're going to build your own React app, maybe without this framework, that's how you could, get access to this as well. So we import Web3 like this, and I'm going to connect Web3 inside of a special function inside this React component, okay? So, like I said, this is what a React component looks like. You see this class app extends component, and we're pulling in component here from React, all right? And here's the render function. This is the function that lays out all of the content on the page. You can see inside this return statement here, here's a bunch of HTML with some JavaScript mixed in, okay? So we can create a new function called component will mount, all right? And here's where we're going to write all the code to connect to the blockchain and load data from it, all right? But I want to use the async await pattern in here, so I'll go async component will mount. So if you're not familiar with async await, basically it's a strategy for handling asynchronous function calls in JavaScript, which we can talk about later if I remember, whenever we code this out. Okay, so this function is going to get called whenever this component mounts to the virtual DOM inside of React, okay? So basically that just means before this render function gets called, this function is going to get called, okay? And it's going to load up any code execute any code that we write inside of here before this render function triggers, okay? So I'm going to connect to Web3 like this. So we'll say let Web3, all right, equals, and then I'm going to instantiate Web3, and I'll actually bump this font up so you can see better. So I'll say new Web3, and now I want to paste in a URL. So what you want to do is paste in the URL from Infura that you created earlier, all right? Go here to Infura, and once you've logged in and you have your dashboard here, and you've created a new application, you should see a URL that connects to the main net, right? That's what you want, the main net. So paste in your mainnet URL inside of a string like this. like this, all right? And then make sure you have the protocol in front, which I'm using HTTPS //, and then here's your mainnet URL. This is version 3, and then here's your API key. So if I were you, I wouldn't use this one because by the time I publish this tutorial, probably a lot of people have already, and maybe this is killed. So you use your own API key here. All right. So that's how I'm going to create a connection to Web3. So if you've done any of my other tutorials before, or maybe you've built your own blockchain website, or Dapp or something, you might have seen a Web3 connection that looks a little more complex than this, right? One where you're handling a bunch of different cases and trying to get the Web3 provider from MetaMask. So we're going to do it differently in this tutorial, all right? So we're not going to use MetaMask because we want people to come use this website without having MetaMask installed. Now, that will present some limitations, namely they can't actually sign transactions with this website, but that's not the point. The point is to get information from the blockchain and display it on this website as just a regular website so that users don't actually have to have MetaMask installed in order to get it, okay? So we've got our Web3 connection. And now the first thing I want to do is just fetch some data from the blockchain just to make sure this works. So what I'm going to do is say let latest block equals await. We'll say web3.eth.get block, and we'll say latest. All right, so this is going to do just like what it says. We're going to get the latest block and then console log. And then I'll say, latest block. And then we'll just pass in latest block here. All right, so let's go to our website. Open the console, and let's see, here it is. Here's the latest block. Boom, there we go. So Web3 is connected properly to the actual main Ethereum network. So if we go to Etherscan, I go Etherscan. All right, we can see here the latest block is 84,77114. And then let's see here. Where's the number? Yep, 113. So 113, 114. Right, so it looks correct. Awesome. So looks like that last block was just added after we fetched this. So it's close enough. All right, so we are cooking with fire. So now what I want to do is load up some more data from Web3 to fill out this block explorer. And what we'll do is actually just pluck off some of the data that we got returned here and add it to the React state object. So I'll explain what that is here in a minute. All right, so the difficulty is this, and then here's all this extra stuff. Okay, so I don't want all this information. What I'm going to do is get the latest block number, which I just showed you a second ago, and then the difficulty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is update those to the React state object. So what is that? Well, basically, it's a way to store data inside the React app. I showed you that a minute ago. So you can see this. Basically, here's the code that does it. You can create a default state object like this. All right, I'm just going to copy this, put it back in our app. All right, this is what React tells us to do. All right, and then we can basically just fill in items here. So we can update this state object. We could set the items, set text, but in this case, I want to set the latest block number, and I want to set the difficulty and some bunch of other data, right? And in this case, we're going to fetch some blocks later, and we'll add them to an array just like we did here, okay? So I'm going to modify this, but you get the idea just to see what React tells us to do. We can do a very similar thing, and I'm going to do our default state just like this, boom. All right, so here's all the information we're going to fill out. The block number, the difficulty, the gas price, and then the latest blocks, which will show on the page, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and add the block number, the difficulty like this. We can update this state object inside this code like this. We'll say this set state, and I'll say block number, and I'll say latest block number. All right, and then I'll say difficulty, latest block, difficulty. All right, and just to be clear, I'm pulling that information from here, right? So here's the difficulty. Here's the latest block, right? Logged to the console. Here's the difficulty. And then here is the number right here. Okay, so I'm pulling this information off, and we're going to add it to the React state object so that we can display it on the page. So the reason I'm doing this is to put all this data inside of here, and pretty soon we're going to fetch this data out and put it inside this HTML code so that we can see it on the website. All right. So next, I want to get some more data. I want to get the gas price so we can put that on the page. All right. So I'll say this, or actually let's do this. Say let gas price equals await web3 eth get gas price. All right. Now I'll say console log gas price, save that, go back to the console. All right, there we go. Here's the gas price. So that worked. Now we can update the state to store the gas price, just like this. Boom. Awesome. So I'm going to add some comments here just so that we can organize our code a little better, make it more readable. So we'll load web3 here. And then here we're going to fetch the latest block like this. All right. And then here we're going to fetch the gas price. All right. And then now we can go ahead and put some of this information on the page. Right. There's one major thing that we still want to fetch from the blockchain, and that's going to be the actual blocks themselves so that we can list them out. But let's clear off some of this code and let's go ahead and see some stuff on the page. We get some visual confirmation that everything's working properly. All right, so I'm going to clear out all of this inside this main div here. Take all this out. All right, let's just save that and make sure we didn't break anything. All right, so it's gone. That's what we expect. The screen's blank, but that's what we want to happen. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, just put a title up here. We'll call it Ethereum Blockchain Explorer. All right, Ethereum Blockchain Explorer. And then next what I want to do is create a row inside of Bootstrap like this. Say div.row. All right, like that. And then I'm going to create a column for each little stat. Okay, so I'll say div.className. Or let's do it this way, div.call for. So basically, I'm just going to create 3 of these across that make 3 stats. And then I'll say div.bglight. All right. And then do it like this. Add some more classes to here. We'll give it some padding. Padding top 4, padding bottom 3, margin 1. And then I'll say h5. H5. Latest block. Say P. Just say 0 for now. All right. I'll put a dash. All right. Latest block. There we go. So we got some content on the page here. And what I want to do is also add some width to this. Okay. So up here, I'm going to say style equals width. It's 800, pixels. So inline styles is probably not the best way to do this, but I'm just going to throw it on there for now so we don't have to have an extra style sheet or put like any style objects in here. All right, so there we go. We got some nice width. And I'm going to say latest block. So now I can copy this. I'm going to minimize this and do this 3 times. All right, so we'll do the latest block. And then we'll do the difficulty and the gas price. Let's do it with the capital. And then also the gas price. All right, save that. So it looks like It's kind of broken here. It's going on to each row when we want them to go side by side. All right, so let's just fix that. All right, sorry. So it looks like I put that inside the row. We don't want to do that. So back this out. So put these up a level. Sorry, everybody. All right, so there we go. Just going to keep that space there. All right, there we go. That's what we want. So we want to see the blockchain explorer, then latest block, difficulty, and gas price. So let's enter that information in. We can read that out of the state object and React just like this. We can add some curly braces. That's how you evaluate JavaScript inside the HTML inside React. So we just say this.state.latest block. Save that. And let's see if it'll put it out on the page. So it looks like it didn't do it. To figure out what's going on here. Oh, I realized what it was. I just used the wrong name. So it should be block number. So this is like a human readable name, latest block. But the actual data is the block number. So that's a little confusing. Sorry about that. All right, so let's try to do that. Refresh the page. All right, so it flashed 0 for a second and then went away. So let's see what the issue is here. So we said block number is 0. And then, so I made an error in the code here. I can also see this. Sorry, everybody. So we'll say number. All right. Save that. Go back to page. And there we go. Awesome. So latest block, here it is. So 9477172. Awesome. So next, let's fill in the difficulty. We can do it just like we did the block number. So I'll just paste this in and say difficulty. And then we'll also go ahead and fill in the gas price over here. And we'll say gas price. Save that. Boom, there we go. Awesome. So we got our top line stats for our block explorer. Latest block, difficulty, and then the gas price. Very cool. So now what I want to do is continue on with this, and I actually want to list out the most recent blocks onto the page, okay? So first we'll go inside our component and fetch that data and hydrate the state so that we have access to it inside the HTML code. So what we'll do is fetch the latest 10 blocks. Fetch latest 10 blocks. So I'll show you how to do that. Basically, we'll just find the latest block number, which we have here, and we'll count down from 10 and fetch out each block individually with this method right here to fetch out the latest 10 blocks data. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Basically, we'll use a for loop, and we'll say for, we'll say let I equals 0, and say I is less than 10, and then I plus plus. This is standard JavaScript here. All right, so what we're going to do is fetch the latest 10 blocks. So we're going to count from 0 all the way to less than 10, and then add 1 each time inside this for loop, okay? So let's put let block here. We'll say block equals await web3 eth get block, just like we did here. And we're going to say latest block number, and then we're just going to subtract I, all right? So if we subtract 0, that's going to be the latest one. If we subtract 1, it's going to be the one before it, all the way till we get to 10. That'll be the last 10 blocks. And then we'll store it. We'll say latest blocks equals an empty array. And we'll stash it inside of there. Say latest blocks. Or push block. All right. We'll also console log the block. All right. So let's just console log and make sure everything works. Yep, there we go. There's the latest 10 blocks. You can see all the data inside of it, just like we did with this block here. So now we can take this information and put it on the page by updating the state object. We'll just say, this.set state, latest blocks, and we'll assign it to the array that we created here. Just like that. Boom. So set state, latest blocks, latest blocks. Awesome. So now what we can do is put all this information on the page like this. I'm going to create a new row down here, just like we did here. So I'm just going to copy this to create a new row. And then take out all this. Actually, take out all this like this. Okay, so we'll do a row here, and we'll do call LG12. All right, say margin top 3. All right, and then what we're gonna do is actually create a bootstrap card. All right, I'm gonna paste in some boilerplate code so you don't have to write all this yourself, just like this. All right, boom, there we go. So what I've done is I've created a card in Bootstrap, which I'll show you here in a second. And it's just got a header that says latest blocks, and the card's got a body. And inside the body, I've created a table, okay, just like this. Table's got a header, and it's defines the columns for the table, which is just the block number, the hash, the minor, and the timestamp. Okay, and this is all the data that we're going to fill out here into this table body here momentarily. Okay, so you can just copy this and paste this from the tutorial code in the description below. But I didn't want to spend forever just coding this out on screen. Save you some time so that you can see the real important part here in a second. So there you go. That's what the card looks like, and here's the body. So let's go ahead and fill it in. Basically, all we need to do is access the latest blocks from the state object, this thing here that we set here, and then map over them and display them on the page. Okay, so what I'm going to do is execute JavaScript inside these curly braces, say this dot state, so latest blocks. All right, and then I'm going to map over them like this. So map is just a function inside of JavaScript called map. And then we pass in an anonymous function with 2 arguments, the block, and then also the index or the key in this case, which we need to use for React. I'll explain that here in a second. And then we pass it inside of here, okay? So inside of here, we need a return. And inside this return, we're going to add a table row like this. All right, and then some table header. Bootstrap requires this. We call it scope row. Oops. And then we say table data. And then I'm going to do this one more time. And then one more time. Okay, so that'll be the row for the number, the row for the hash, the data for the hash, the minor, and then the timestamp. Okay. So let's fill in some more information here. So Bootstrap requires React requires that every element inside this map function be unique. So it's going to put a bunch of elements on the page, and they all have to have a unique identifier. So React uses a thing called a key, right? And then we must just pass the key in here, which is just going to be the index of the block. Say key. This, all right, and then I can just fill in the block number like this, block number, pretty easy, and then I can also add the block hash, all right. So let's go ahead and go to the page and just see if this is actually working. Make sure we didn't make any mistakes yet. All right, no, it looks right. So we can see the block number here and then the hash. All right, we can see it listed for all of them. Awesome. So we got some overflow going on off the card. We can fix that. All right, so what I want to do is basically truncate this hash. I want to make it shorter. We don't need to see all these characters. We can just take like the first 20 characters or something like that. So we can say a substring and then pass in 0 to 20. And then we'll just use an ellipse here. Save that. All right, boom, there we go. So same thing for the minor. We can do that. Just copy this pattern, paste it here, and say minor. All right. Awesome. And then finally, let's log out the timestamp. All right, boom, there we go. Awesome. So there you have it. That is the completed tutorial code, okay? So you've just created a blockchain explorer. This is a blockchain-based website where your users can go actually read information from the blockchain, just like Etherscan, without having to use MetaMask, all right? So they can, and that's the real benefit of a tutorial like this is, let's say you want to build a website that uses information from the blockchain and you don't want people to install a Chrome extension before they visit your page, then that's a good way to do it. You know, there's lots of use cases for this. Let's say you have a token and you want to show people information about the token. Maybe it's a fundraising campaign. You want to show how many tokens have been sold, or you want to show any information from a smart contract, or, you know, the balance of someone's cryptocurrency account. There's all kinds of things that you can use this for. But this is a really good example of how you can get started really quickly in your own projects and connect to the blockchain. So I hope you like this video. I'm going to put the code down in the description below, the link to it at least. As always, subscribe to the channel, click the like button down below. And if you want to take that next step to mastering blockchain, you should join the free training over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.